Welcome to Cultivating Victory Live. We're here today with Jessica Smith out of Virginia and Glenn Schultz, of course, from Longmont, Colorado.
Thank you, Mary. Welcome, Jessica.
Thanks.
Jessica is a very interesting person. She is the chapter leader for the Bionutrient Food Association in Virginia. And I was asking her questions about how to better do marketing for the upcoming event that we're having here in Longmont, and then learned some very interesting things about her. She teaches gardening at a university level. She's a documentary filmmaker. She is very talented in many areas, and I'm going to have her kind of explain some of those things for us, if you will, Jessica.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so well, I've been doing a lot more traveling, so I've gotten one of the other members of the BFA in Virginia to start taking on more in that role. But during my time really getting that off the ground, I just had come home to Virginia, and I didn't know many people in the area, and I didn't have people to nerd out with about growing food and soil health. So I really just wanted friends, and I had just gotten out of nutritional therapy school, and during school I started having these connections from my previous education, which was soil science. So I started really understanding the human body and the soil in one paradigm. And so I thought, this has to exist somewhere, like somebody has to have put this together already. And during my research, I stumbled across the Bionutrient Food Association in Dan, and I had gone to a meetup, and then I had at a local chapter in New York when I was up there, and ended up going to, I think it was Acres USA conference, and met Dan there, went to his talk, and just really wanted to bring this stuff back to Virginia with me. I wanted friends in a community and people that I could learn with and grow with. So I was just like, how do I get this started? And he's like, you can start a chapter. And these are kind of like, we usually do an introductory lecture. So I was like, great. How do I get people to show up? So it was interesting and quite a learning experience for me. I just really had to start putting myself out there and letting people know what it was we wanted, and really searching for people online. So that's kind of where I started, was just trying to find out who was interested, who was hiding in the crevices in the area, who was interested in this stuff. So that's really where, I got involved with the BFA.
That's fantastic. And what is the results of that? Have you met a lot of people that you're now growing with, and tell me, some of.
Yeah. Well, the people that I've met are now, I would say, some of my closest friends. And oh my goodness, like what we did was we just wanted to start educating each other on what we all knew or what we wanted to learn. And so we just started taking turns. Every month, one of us would teach a presentation on something. And these people are literally my closest friends and the people that I go to if I'm like, hey, like I'm having this going on. Are you experiencing something similar? Because we're in the same area. So usually, we're having similar weather patterns, and it's like, well, maybe, they're getting too much water, or maybe we need to put more nutrients on because it's washing away, so it's just like people that now I can talk to about this stuff, because we've all done Dan's workshop, and learned and shared with each other, and really are trying to master the principles ourselves. So we kind of have like a support group, as well as, friends and colleagues, and all the meetups that we have, we do a potluck. So it's just a really good time. We have food and people teaching, and we get to catch up with each other. And it was like, otherwise I'm just doing things by myself and feeling like I'm by myself out there, just working. And it's like once a month I get to be like, these are my friends. I'm going to go hang out with my friends, eat some good food, and learn stuff, so yeah.
Fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic. You're also working on a documentary.
Mm-hmm.
Teaches people how to garden. You want to?
Yes. Yeah, it's an interesting story how I got to that point. I'm actually working with my partner, Joe. He's the real genius behind all the filming stuff. I just met people and I just really have a message that I want to bring to people, and it's the same message he wants to bring to people. So it was interesting that I have it's weird. I seem to get jobs by accident or stumble into things by accident. Just like the university job was an accident. I just started talking to somebody and they're like, hey, could you teach? And I was like, you pay me to teach? And he's like, yeah. And so I was like, okay. So that's how I started teaching in university, nutrient-dense gardening. And then I had also had my night job, or my just job to fund all my gardening pursuits, which was a virtual assistant for a company called Rebel Health Tribe. And I just like stumbled upon a post they put on Facebook looking for like a virtual assistant. And I had not really much experience in that at all, but I was like, sure, like I'll fill out an application. And needless to say, like I started working with the guys and they are awesome. Michael and Joe, super incredible people. I love them so much. And I was working with them virtually for about a year and a half. Never like met them in person at all. And then when I went up to New York one time, like I was going to meet with Joe for like the first time, right? I've ever met with him in like person. And so I go over to his house and he's got like the warmest family. They're super awesome. He like welcomes me into the house. And, you know, I have this tendency, like when I'm nervous, I just start talking about things like soil and start nerding out about things because I'm comfortable with that, you know? So I was just like talking about soil and how, you know, we can grow food in this way that can reverse climate change and like heal people and like all this stuff. And he was like, wait. Let's get on Facebook Live. Can you tell everybody what you just told me? Because you just blew my mind. And not long after that, we decided to put together like a course. And it was about right when we started doing the online gardening course, we had also done an online webinar series called the Garden Series. And we had like Will Allen, Dan Kittredge, John Kim, Stacey Murphy, like a lot of really cool people. And it was like we're outside gardening and like filming one day and we're just like, we should just film a documentary. And Joe like really has always wanted to film this documentary. And so we were like, yeah, like we really need to get this message out there to more people, how we really can like improve our environment, improve our communities, improve our health, improve our future, and our resilience by growing food in a way that's super regenerative and healing. So we went ahead and we're like, you know, we found a lot of really awesome people growing food this way, doing it. And we wanted to really capture their stories in a way to not just like tell people, hey, you know, the environment is like degrading and everybody's getting sick and the food is not good quality anymore. And like bringing like, not, instead of just saying like, hey, like everything is going downhill, we should really change something. And it would be cool if we changed something. So it's like, instead of something like that and documentaries that get you pumped up on like, oh my gosh, there's a cause that we need to rise up to, but more in like this is exactly how we can do it. You know, more, it's like not just, you know, a film, it's a call to action. We really want people to view the film and be like, oh my goodness, I can be part of the change right now in my own backyard. I don't have to wait. I can dive right in and I know what to do. And so it's like, the whole film itself, to just like to give you a little overview of the film, rather than the purpose, is that, so we met this guy named Jim, and he's quit his job because he said he didn't feel like he had any purpose, right? He was like cleaning pools for the 1%. And he was like, what am I doing with my life? So he quit his job and he started learning about permaculture, and he started farming on people's front lawns on Long Island. And so he just started doing that because he felt like he could add real value to the world and bring fresh food to his local community. And there weren't many people in the area growing food. So he kind of like, you know, this was his first attempt. He just like dove right in. And the whole point is that anybody can be Jim. Like anybody can do that. So we kind of just like follow his process and see how he progresses through the whole year. And then we went and visited some people like Will Allen, Dan Kittredge's farm, this lady, Patty Gentry of Early Girl Farm, who's incredible. She used to be a chef, and she quit her job to farm because she really wanted to grow the ingredients and provide that to chefs, because the people she was working with, they weren't seeking the highest quality food. So we really weave in all of those people's stories and their wisdom into the story of Jim and his experience and his journey. And all that together combines to really help inspire and motivate people that anybody can do it. Anybody can grow food, no matter how much space you have, no matter how much financial resources you have, no matter how much experience you have. Like, you can grow food like anywhere. So that's what we're really trying to get people to do. It's a call to action to take charge and grow healthy food to improve ourselves and our health and the health of the planet. So that's what it is in a nutshell.
You know, Jessica, as I'm listening to you, something that keeps hitting me over and over again is how different your career track, and some of this is a generational difference, has been from certainly what probably Glenn and definitely I went through, is that you are very flexible and adaptable and sees a lot of opportunities that maybe not be what you were trained in. And you're describing people who are doing the same thing.
Yeah.
And, I think it's interesting to see that this is the way the world is changing. I'm wondering if in your documentary you emphasize to what degree these people are financially successful. You move into this, going from cleaning pools to building gardens. What resources did he need to get started with that? And maybe more importantly, what connections did he need to make that work? Because a lot of times it's who you know.
Right. It's who you know, but it's also being willing to make yourself vulnerable and put yourself out there. Because for him, he just put himself out there and just dove in. And there's something about Jim, right? Like when Joe and I met him, there's just something about him where we're just like, we want to help. Like, how can we help? You know, and there's something that it's because he put himself in such a vulnerable place where he's like, I just want to do good, and I'm just going to figure it out as I go and meet people and get advice from people. And so Joe and I were like, yeah, like, let's help. And, Jim met some really awesome people. It's just putting yourself out there, people will start reaching out to you. He got like news channels started like calling him and coming and interviewing him, and like so many people started like seeing what he was doing. And since he's gardening on front lawns, more and more people were stopping by and like asking him, like, what are you doing? Like, what is this? And so putting himself out there in that kind of way really helped him make a lot of awesome connections. And that's really what it's about. Like, people are just like so afraid to connect with people, I feel like, these days, and put themselves out there and just be completely transparent. Like, this is who I am, this is what I'm doing, and I don't have any ulterior motives. And when you put that out there, you attract really awesome people. And so I think that that's what this is all about, is putting yourself out there, and just for the simple fact that you just want to do good in the world and you just want to serve others. Like Glenn was telling you, like, there's something so fulfilling about helping other people, right? It's like kind of like the gift economy. You just keep giving, and it's just a cycle that keeps flowing. So yeah, we cover that kind of thing in the documentary. We cover, there's times where he was struggling, because there's one part to actually grow food. There's another part to actually get people to buy the food you grow, which is really hard if the people in your area aren't familiar with certain vegetables, or, don't understand why something costs what it does, because they don't see the whole picture. So yeah, we cover that. We found some really awesome avenues for him to take in order to make sure he could sell all of his stuff. And I think that he's starting to shift what he's doing now. And he, instead of just doing his gardens, I think he's really trying to just promote more gardens in the area in general. So from what he's learned, I think he's trying to really increase that effort. And I think he has some kind of plan to make Long Island completely like food independent, because he's just trying to, he's an incredible person. He's really trying to inspire people and get more food in a way where it's all has, like, everybody has access to food, basically.
What kinds of comments and reactions do you get from people within your workshops and classes and so forth?
Yes. The biggest thing is time. People, they think, they're just like, I don't have time. I don't have time to garden. It's a lot of work. I don't have time to do this. Like, I, have a job, I have kids, I have all this stuff I'm trying to do. So it's really, the biggest thing is people don't think that they have time. That's one. The second thing is probably people not knowing where to start. It's intimidating. They're looking at a lawn or a backyard and they're like, I don't know where to even start. So, time, intimidating, like the fact that it's overwhelming, the fact that every time you like try to like look up something online, there's so much information. It's just information overload. So people are just not sure where to start. They don't think they have time. I'd say that those are pretty much like my biggest ones. Or people I've talked to who have tried to grow organically, they give up after the first attempt because they had insects or a disease come and wipe out their stuff, right? Because their plants were actually unhealthy and they didn't understand, and nobody's really kind of informing people that, hey, like, if you grow plants in a certain way, they're so healthy that they actually become resistant to pests and diseases. So for me, like, my biggest thing is when people say, like, I don't have time, this is a lot of work, all this stuff, I try to bring up some of the benefits that we directly receive from the process of gardening. There's connection with where your food's coming from. There's, like, these are the things that make it worth it, right? There's connection to your food, where it's coming from. There's being outside in general, fresh air. There's the negative ions coming out of the earth that help reduce inflammation. There's a certain bacteria in the soil called End-O-Fite that actually triggers your brain to produce serotonin. So when we garden, we're actually happier. There's sunlight, right? Vitamin D. There's so many people not getting enough vitamin D. All of this stuff, it's worth it, right? You have kids, great. Get them out in there in the garden with you and help them learn where food comes from.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm super impressed. I want to learn from you now.
Well, I learned from Dan and a bunch of other awesome people. It's just, that's what it's about. We learn and then we just keep sharing.
So actually, since you brought up Dan Kittredge is going to be at Len's farm in early February. You've taken his course. What can you tell people about the benefits of that course?
Oh my gosh, that course is like, it's one of those things that you keep unpacking the knowledge like over the rest of the year. It's one of those, it's like basically, for me, it answered a lot of questions and broadened my ability to understand what was really happening in my garden, in my farming system. I have, all the people that I know that have taken Dan's workshop that I stay in touch with, they are just taking the knowledge that he shared with them and they're expanding upon it for their own location and their own system. And they're getting incredible results. I know I've gotten incredible results from using these practices. I had one of the first time I was teaching at the university, we had some plots in a community garden and the garden was organic. We weren't supposed to use chemicals. So we were doing our stuff in that garden and we were utilizing the principles that Dan had taught and that he teaches and talks about. And there was actually an infestation in the community garden where the brassica plants were all being destroyed by insects. And we went over to our plots, and we had kale, and the other plots had like cabbage and stuff like that. And our plants actually did not get any insects on them. They were perfectly fine right beside plants that were being infested. And that was organic gardening. Like the whole thing was organic, but there was a difference between that organic and us understanding nature and how to work with it. So Dan really provides a lot of insight that you're not going to hear a lot of places on how to work with nature and balance things, how to support life. I mean, he goes in for like 2 days. I mean, it is just incredible. And it really, for me, it was just empowering. It was empowering because like I don't have to rely on somebody else who might be representing, a fertilizer company who gets a kickback, right? I know that I can make empowered decisions on my own. And there's something about that is just so comforting and so like, oh my gosh, like I understand this now. Now I don't feel like I have to panic about anything. I feel like really confident about going out there and seeing my garden and understanding what's going on and what I need to do and how to produce the most amazing food possible. I tell the story sometimes. The first time I ate anything from Dan's garden, I like literally thought I was gonna like cry. like we were at like a chapter leader get together thing, and he had chicken from one of his chickens that he raised, and there was, I think it was sauerkraut or pickled beets or something. It was something with like beets in it, and I didn't even know that vegetables and stuff could have that much flavor, especially once they've been fermented and stuff. So, and the chicken was just like ridiculous. Like it was so ridiculous. Like the food we're eating today is just, oh my gosh, it's a shadow of what it could be. And I got to taste what it could be. And I was like, man, when I started growing food like that, people would pass by the gardens and I would just give them food. Like I would just give them produce because we had so much. And people would just like come back by and they're like, how are you growing that? Why does that taste so much different? Like I buy organic stuff in the store and it still doesn't taste as good. Or they tell me like, this has been in my fridge for like 3 weeks and it hasn't even started wilting.
Now, Dan lives on the East Coast and you do too. Mm-hmm. And when you come out west and then go back east, just the water overwhelms you. Mm-hmm. You don't walk around for long without thinking this is a totally different kind of agricultural system. How many people did you see participating in his course from arid lands? I do know he teaches basic principles, and I guess I'd just like some insights on how well those principles are working for people in dry lands.
Yeah, well, the principles, like you said, like the principles that expand upon any kind of location. For me, I know of chapters on the West Coast that are using his practices very successfully. I know that he's gone all over the country teaching this, and that it's really good results, because what he's teaching is like especially for the arid lands, right? That's why it's so critical to keep your soil covered, right? And that's why you set up certain type of irrigation systems. And if you're growing plants that are healthier, they're going to have more biomass, so they're going to provide more shade to the soil. You mulch, you keep the soil covered, just the basic foundations of life that, you just take what he learns and look at your system and you can figure out, okay, how can I best support these plants? So for me, I've just been up and down the East Coast and noticed all the people that I've seen utilizing these principles have amazing results. And I know that there's people all over the country utilizing them. So, and a lot of things Dan has learned from other people, so it's not just, his dogma. It's like actual principles. He's not trying to put somebody in a box.
Right.
It's not like this is the way. It's like, here are some of the things that underlie everything. So there's no one size fits all, but there are underlying principles that govern all life. So that's why I think it works everywhere.
Wow, Jessica, thanks for that explanation. This is why I'm so excited to have Dan come out and teach us. I think he is a master of what he does, and you so elegantly outlined some of the things I was really unaware of. And what we're needing by Sunday, this coming Sunday, so we got 4 days, or 11 more people to sign up at the Bionutrient Food Association and look under the Longmont event to have Dan come on out. It's well worth your time. It will save you money, like Jessica said, because you will know what direction. You'll have a plan on how to lay out your garden, your farming, how these biological systems really work, and start benefiting from the food that they produce. I also, Jessica, when we were talking yesterday, you had an excellent suggestion. For those of you who aren't really necessarily interested in gardening, but love to eat good food and would want this to happen in the Longmont area, consider donating. Consider donating and sponsoring a student. I've had a number of college students come up to me and said, "Listen, do you have scholarships?" So the tuition is $200. And so donate $200 and sponsor somebody in our community to learn this system. It's that important. And sponsor 2, sponsor 3, buy out the class. We'll fill it for sure. So.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we had. We had somebody who was like, I really want this workshop to happen, but I know that you're like at the last part and you're trying to get people to show up because that's the only way to do it. I know you need 20 people total, and in order to make it happen. And I know I know how that is, the final push. I had somebody come up to me and was just like, "Hey, I want this workshop to happen. Can I sponsor 2 people?" And I was like, "Yes, you can. That would be awesome." So yeah, that's definitely a thing that would be super beneficial. And I just know, for me personally, the workshop is to kind of jumpstart like an actual community, because it's not just the workshop and then it's over. See, that's like a lot of the problem with like solo workshops, is that it's over and then you're like, great, like I learned all this stuff, but who do I talk to? How do I stay accountable? How do I keep growing? And I think that that's what you said you were trying to do, is really generate that movement in your area, in the community around that. And I think that, following up from the workshop with local meetups to help people kind of continuously digest this information, that's why it's so important. That's the whole reason to make it happen, is because you guys can grow together.